And we're live, Your Worship.
Thank you, Dina. Good morning, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. I'll ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. If at some point throughout the meeting you find that you do, please declare it at that time. Adoption of minutes. We have our regular meeting of council minutes, November 23rd, 2021. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Watson resolve that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held November 23rd, 2021 are hereby adopted as circulated. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Comment and question period. Madam Clerk, has anyone registered to speak today?
Thank you, Worship. No one has registered.
Okay, thank you. Correspondence received. We have a letter from the Ombudsman's office. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray, the council received the letter dated December 13th, 2021 from Ombudsman of Ontario for information. Is there any discussion on this item? Councillor Wells? We lost him for a minute. There you are. Oh, gone again.
Technology is not working quite right this morning. Just a comment, Your Worship. I'm pleased with the decision of the Ombudsman. I think it's the right decision. And I realize that this does occur in other things like the Integrity Commission and so forth. But I am disappointed. I guess disappointed is the strongest word I want to use, that we are not able to know the name of the complainant. I, along with the rest of this council, have been accused of something, and yet we are not able to know the name of our accuser. I just find that to be unacceptable. I thought somewhere along the way there was some regulation or whatever that said the accuser, has a right to know the name of their complainant, and this is not the case here. So, again, pleased with the decision. It's the right decision in my mind, but again, I think it's unfortunate that that we are not able to know the name of the complainant.
Thank you for those comments. I totally agree with you. I think we have groundbreakings, we have ribbon cuttings, we have all kinds of things that council attends. And, and I'm not saying this was frivolous, but there are frivolous complaints and things like that the Ombudsman's office has to look into. It costs taxpayers all across the province when these things happen. It was clearly a groundbreaking and nothing more, but very pleased with the outcome. Councillor Kinney, I think I saw your card as well.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do agree with Councillor Wells with regards to the outcome of the investigation. I do understand that to get people to come forward, there has to be some anonymity with regards to that. However, in a court of law, you know what your accuser is or who your accuser are. So I'll just leave that in the 2 points. But again, I'm happy with the outcome. Because as Your Worship said, it's a groundbreaking. That's all it was. Thank you again.
Thank you. Seeing no other cards, I've read the motion. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Correspondence requiring action, I have none. Referred, I have none. Moving on to Committee of the Whole Budget Report from December 2nd. Following are the highlights from the December 2nd, 2021 Committee of the Whole as Budget Committee meeting. Committee received a presentation on Draft 3 of the 2022 operating and capital budgets, as well as the 4-year operating forecast and the 10-year capital forecast. Committee forwarded the proposed budget and the forecast for inclusion as part of the budget public meeting on December 14th. On behalf of Committee of the Whole, I ask that Council receive this report for information. And if I could have a mover and seconder for that motion, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Foster, that Council receive the Committee of the Whole Budget Report of December 2nd, 2021 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor? and that is carried unanimously. Moving on to Special Committee of the Whole Report, December 14th. The following are the highlights from the December 14th, 2021 Special Committee of the Whole meeting. Committee went into closed session to discuss beachfront development matters. Committee received CAO update number 5 on the negotiations with Slate. Committee came out of closed session and passed a motion confirming the direction provided to the CAO in closed session. On behalf of Committee of the Whole, I ask that Council approve the recommendation in this report. And if I could have a mover and seconder for this motion, please. Councillor Foster and Deputy Mayor Bray. The Council received the Special Committee of the Whole report of December 14th, 2021 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? And those opposed? That is carried by a vote of 6-1 with Councillor Belanger in opposition. And Committee of the Whole Budget Report, December 14th. Following are the highlights from the December 14th, 2021 Committee of the Whole as Budget Committee meeting. Using a PowerPoint presentation, Treasurer Jocelyn Lee provided an overview of the proposed 2022 budget. The proposed operating budget for 2022 is $44 million and the proposed capital budget is $57 million. Taxes would support nearly $28.5 million in the budget, with the balance coming from reserves, fees, grants, and other revenues. The proposed tax rate for the municipal portion of taxes is 2.97%. The blended tax rate when the county and school board rates are considered is 2.25%, assuming there is no increase in the school board rates. Although delivering similar services, Wasaga Beach continues to have one of the lower tax rate in contrast to its municipal comparators. For a home in Wasaga Beach assessed at $450,000 in 2022, the municipal portion of taxes would increase by $77.16. The total property tax increase, factoring in the county rates and school board rates, would be $101.78. The town is taking a balanced approach to fund its capital plan using reserves, reserve funds, debt, and the tax levy. Projects planned for years will be funded using reserves to help lower the tax burden. The town will use $32 million to fund various infrastructure investments. The town estimates reserves and deferred revenue will sit at $40 million at year's end. Factors affecting the budget in 2022 increases over 2021 include cost increases, inflation on the various materials and services the town purchases, cost of living increases, new staffing, debenture costs, declining grant money, and other general increases totaling $4.9 million. Several members of the public addressed council at the meeting on various aspects of the budget, focusing on climate change initiatives, capital projects, including road improvements and parking enforcement initiatives. As part of the meeting, representatives of each town department provided the public with an overview of how the proposed 2022 budget will support the delivery of municipal services next year, and these details are on the town's website. Staff also presented the major capital project forecast for 2023 to 2029, as well as the breakdown for the funding plan for the Twin Pad Arena and Library project, and this information is also on our website. On behalf of the Committee of the Whole, I ask that Council approve the recommendations in this report. And if I could have a mover and seconder for this motion, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Watson. The Council received the Committee of the Whole budget report of December 14th, 2021 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Any discussion? Councillor Belanger?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I will be opposing this motion, but I'll speak to it when we later in the meeting when we vote on the bylaw. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, I've read the motion. All those in favor? And those opposed? And that carries by a vote of 6-1 with Councillor Belanger in opposition. Moving on to coordinated committee, we will start with community services. Councillor Kinney, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights from the December 16, 2021 Community Services section of Coordinated Committee. Committee received a presentation from the 211 organization about services it provides the community. 211 is a non-emergency helpline that provides information about social services, community organizations, health programs, and government programs. Committee also received for information a presentation on the Southern Georgian Bay Regional Housing Initiative. which aims to establish a Southern Georgian Bay housing corporation to work on sustainable housing solutions for the area. Committee received for information the Wasaga Beach Library Bookmobile service update report. The Bookmobile officially went into service in April. The Bookmobile has visited numerous locations throughout the community this year, including Beach One, Canadian Tire, Country Life, Real Canadian Superstore, Walmart, Foodland, Recplex, Birchview Dunes Elementary School, plus several other spots. The Bookmobile has provided access to over 1,000 items in the library collection, including books, magazines, DVDs, games, and tablets. The Bookmobile will continue to provide important outreach services in 2022. Committee is recommending council authorize staff to coordinate with the county of Simcoe staff to expand the parking lot at the county's paramedic station on Oxbow Park Road. The town owns the building and land, leasing the property to the county. The county will fund the expansion, which once complete will allow needed parking space for staff. Finally, committee is recommending council approve hosting the Wasaga Beach Cruise Fun Run on June 24th and 25th, 2022, and that the event occupy the grassy area between the soccer pitches, driving range, and baseball diamonds at Wasaga Sports Park. In addition, the committee is recommending a $2,500 sponsorship grant for Wasaga Beach Cruisers to assist in enhancing the event with live entertainment. Finally, the committee is recommending the organizers have in-kind use of the town-owned stage for the event. On behalf of the Community Services section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Councillor Kinney's report? Okay, moving on to Public Works. Councillor Watson, please.
Your Worship, it was the night before Christmas, and these are the highlights from the December 16th, 2021 Public Works section of Coordinated Committee. Committee received for information the Capital Works Project Status Report outlining the status of several infrastructure projects throughout the community. Work continued in November on a number of projects, including the Shore Lane Drainage Improvement Project. The report also highlights planning work that is taking place for several future initiatives, which is great to see for that area. Committee also received for information the Water Pollution Control Plant Monthly Performance Report and the Drinking Water System Monthly Performance Report. Both reports indicate the systems are operating to standards. Finally, the transit ridership reports continue to show a steady use of local transit. Committee received the reports for information. In November, people took 5,202 rides on Wasaga Beach Transit compared to 4,285 the same period a year ago. On behalf of the Public Works section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that Council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Councillor Watson's reports? Okay, moving on to Development Committee. Councillor Foster, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights of the December 16th, 2021 Development Service section of the Coordinated Committee. Committee is recommending that Council adopt the official plan amendment number 57 to streamline the planning approvals process by removing the minimum 20-day notice period before holding zone designation can be lifted on properties. The change brings the town's official plan into conformity with provincial regulations and planning practices throughout Ontario and will allow projects to move ahead quicker when developers have met all of the conditions. Committee is recommending that Council receive a staff report for information regarding the removal of the holding symbol from lands at 80 River Road East once the owner, Greenwood Developments Inc., enters into a site plan agreement and meets the other related requirements. Removing the holding symbol will allow the town to issue a building permit for a 4-story, 50-unit condominium with 1-level underground parking structure. The committee is recommending to Council that it pass a zoning bylaw amendment clarifying the definition of a restaurant in the town of Wasaga Beach. Staff determined the need for this clarification during a recent review of that bylaw. Finally, council received the building department activity report for November. The department issued 18 permits with a total construction value of 20 million. This is definitely a good news story for our community. As an aside, your worship, we've set records in building and planning in every area this year. So it's been a fantastic year for them, and kudos to our staff. Anyway, on behalf of the Development Services section of Coordinated Committee, I ask the council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of Councillor Foster's report? Seeing none, we will go to General Government. Deputy Mayor Bray, please.
Thank you, Mayor Bifulci. Following are the highlights from the December 16th, 2021 General Government Services section of Coordinated Committee. Committee is recommending that Council receive the monthly Municipal Enforcement Department report. In November, the department responded to 174 calls for service. These calls related to a number of issues, including property standards, parking, noise, animal control, as well as business licensing. Committee is recommending to Council that it receive the report from Mosey & Mosey Benefit Consultants regarding group benefit renewal rates for full-time employees, members of Council, retirees, and dependents. In addition, Committee is recommending Council approve the renewal with Canada Life 2022 at an increased premium of $70,836 or 5.9%. As well, Committee is recommending that the town maintain $77,260 of the refund deposit account balance generated under the Benefits Management Program to offset potential future increased costs. Committee also received the report for information from the Wasaga Beach Cemetery. The town made road and ground improvements at the cemetery to support plot purchases. The full road system is now complete. In the spring of 2022, the town will plant more than 20 trees at the cemetery to improve aesthetics. For the year, the town sold 19 plots, 14 niches, 46 internments occurred during the year. Committee is also recommending that Council approve using $22,000 to hire an energy consultant to prepare an energy management plan for the municipality. The town would use $17,000 from the 2021 corporate initiatives budget to fund the work, with the balance sourced through year-end general surplus or reserves, if required. The town is in need of consulting services to prepare an energy management plan, which would include an energy audit of facilities, plus the creation of a conservation and demand management plan to meet regulatory requirements, and an energy action plan, which would outline the results of the audit and provide project recommendations. The intent of the work is to reduce energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. Committee is recommending that Council award almost $2,000 in-kind grants to 3 local groups wishing to utilize municipal facilities. Funding will go to the Girl Guides Canada, the Wasaga Beach Horticultural Society, and the Wasaga Beach Lions Club. Funding is available due to a balance of $16,424 in the grants to organizations budget for 2021. In November, Council allowed groups to apply for the remaining funds on the condition they supported in-kind access to municipal space. Finally, Committee is recommending the Council award Mighton Construction the contract to renovate the municipal law enforcement offices at a cost of $98,600 plus HST, and that an unbudgeted cost of $38,600 be approved and funded from the town's COVID-19 grant reserve. The town used an RFQ process to select the firm as per the municipality's purchasing policy. Additional funding is required to cover rising material costs. The renovations will allow for better physical distancing in the space and improved air quality. On behalf of the General Government Services section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that Council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of Deputy Mayor Bray. Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Worship. Just to remind Council on the grant items, I had declared a conflict of interest during the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Seeing nothing else, we have a motion that Council receive the Coordinated Committee reports of December 16th, 2021 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. The accounts, they will come forward at the January regular council meeting. Next on our agenda, we have a report from the Director of Legislative Services with regard to declaration of property surplus. If I can have a mover and seconder for that motion, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Foster. That council declare a portion of River Road West, more particularly described as part of the north half of Lot 25, Concession 8, former Township of Floss, now Town of Wasaga Beach, being Part 1 on Plan 51R 43273, surplus to the municipality's needs, and that council use the direct sale method to sell the property to the abutting property owner for all costs associated, and further that notice of the proposed sale be provided in accordance with council's policy governing the sale of municipally owned property. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next, we have a report, a planning report with regard to zoning bylaw amendment for Brook Valley. If I could have a mover and seconder for this, please. Councillor Foster, Councillor Wells, that all written submissions received in regards to the applications and all oral submissions made at the virtual electronic public meeting held on August 19th, 2021, relating to the application have been taken into consideration as part of the deliberations and final decision related to the approval of the application for zoning bylaw amendments Z0421, and that pursuant to the Planning Act, the following statement shall be included in the notice of decision. Regard has been had for all written and oral submissions received before the decision was made in relation to these planning matters as considered in the report on application Z0421 presented to the Coordinated Committee on August 19th, 2021, and that council approved the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z0421, inclusive of modifications recommended by town staff in the report dated December 21st, 2021, and that pursuant to section 3417 of the Planning Act, no further public notification is required. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next, we have three motions dealing with appointments to boards. The first one is for Geosands. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. We have Councillor Watson, Councillor Kinney. The following resolutions signed by the sole shareholder of the corporation are hereby passed pursuant to the provisions of the Business Corporations Act, Ontario, the Act. Appointment of directors. Whereas the number of directors within the minimum and maximum specified in the articles of incorporation of the corporation has been fixed at 5. And whereas Ron Anderson was appointed on August 25th, 2020, and remains as a director of the corporation to hold office until the meeting of the shareholder to be held in January 2024, or until their successors are elected or appointed. And whereas Ted Ashwin tendered his resignation as director of the corporation effective October 31st, 2021, and Neil Hamilton tendered his resignation as a director of the corporation effective January 1st, 2022. And whereas Trent Gow was appointed on August 25th, 2020 to hold office until the meeting of the shareholder to be held in January 2022. And whereas the shareholder wishes to elect or appoint John Worsma, Morley Berkovich, and Jeffrey Harper as directors of the corporation effective January 1st, 2022. Accordingly, it is resolved that John Worsma, Morley Berkovich, and Jeffrey Harper are hereby elected or appointed as directors of the corporation to hold office until the meeting of the shareholder to be held in January 2023, or until their successors are elected or appointed. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next, we have a motion dealing with WDI. If I could have a mover and seconder for that, please. Deputy Mayor Bray and Councillor Foster. The following resolutions signed by the sole shareholder of the corporation are hereby passed pursuant to the provisions of the Business Corporations Act, Ontario, the Act. Appointment of directors. Whereas there is currently a vacant position for a director at Wasaga Distribution, Inc. And whereas Morley Berkovich, Andy Ferguson, and John Worsma were appointed as directors of Wasaga Distribution, Inc. to hold office until January 2022 or until their successors are elected or appointed. Accordingly, it is resolved that the term of Robin Plum, who was appointed as a director of Wasaga Distribution, Inc. on January 1st, 2021 is hereby extended until the meeting of the shareholder to be held in January 2024 or until the successor is elected or appointed. Trent Gow is hereby elected or appointed as directors of Wasaga Distribution, Inc. effective January 1st, 2022 to to hold office until the meeting of the shareholder to be held in January 2024, or until their successor is elected or appointed. Javed Khan and Brent Wilson are hereby elected or appointed as directors of Wasaga Distribution, Inc., effective January 1st, 2022, to hold office until the meeting of the shareholder to be held in January 2023, or until their successor is elected or appointed. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And WRSI Board, if I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Deputy Mayor Bray. The following resolutions signed by the sole shareholder of the corporation are hereby passed pursuant to the provisions of the Business Corporations Act, Ontario, the Act, appointment of directors. Whereas the shareholder wishes to extend terms of current directors of the corporations and its subsidiary boards, and whereas the terms of Jason Parklinks and Ron Anderson as directors of Wasaga Resource Services, Inc. were extended until the meeting of the shareholder to be held in January 2024, or until the successors are elected or appointed. And whereas the term of some current directors expire effective January 2022. Accordingly, it is resolved that the term of Josephina Erzatek is hereby extended until the meeting of the shareholder to be held in January 2025, or until their successor are elected or appointed. The term of Andy Ferguson is hereby extended until the meeting of the shareholder to be held in January 2025, or until their successors are elected or appointed. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And I'll just take this minute to thank the members who, there was a couple that resigned. They have their personal reasons. One was moving and different things going on, but their time on the board was very much appreciated, great contributions, and all board members are very much appreciated there. And with that, we will move to the CAO's verbal COVID update, please.
Good morning, Your Worship, members of council. I'm joined today, as per usual, by our communications coordinator, Mike Jennings, and our deputy fire chief, Craig Williams. Mike will be providing a update from the provincial perspective in terms of changes to COVID, and Craig will be providing an update from the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit on changes, and then I will wrap up with a brief update on command team initiatives over the last couple of weeks. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, George. Good morning, Your Worship and members of council. The main item that I wanted to share today was the announcement from the province on Friday, which was they were applying additional public health and workplace safety measures, including capacity and social gathering limits. So Ontario has introduced 50% capacity limit in the following indoor public settings. This is restaurants, bars, food and drink establishments, retail shops, indoor recreational amenities, indoor clubhouses. There's quite a list. It's available through the province's website, and you can also find the information on our COVID-19 information page. To further reduce the spread of the COVID-19 virus, and in particular the Omicron variant, they also introduced additional protective measures. The number of patrons permitted to sit at a table is limited to 10 people. This is in restaurants and bars and other food and drink establishments. Bars and restaurants, meeting and event spaces are required to close by 11 p.m. And takeout and delivery is permitted not after 11 p.m. Dancing is not allowed except for workers and performers. Food and or drink services are prohibited at sporting events and concert venues, theaters, those types of places. In addition, to mitigate COVID-19 transmission that can occur at informal social gatherings, the province has reduced social gathering limits to 10 people indoors and 25 people outdoors. And these restrictions came into effect on Sunday. The other item that I wanted to mention is about school. There's no sense yet on whether students will return in the new year. The belief is that they will, but the Premier was asked about this late last week, and he indicated that it's really too early to make a call. So mums and dads across the province, as well as students, are wondering what will happen in the new year, and I think we're going to have to wait and see until we're a bit closer to the date. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jennings. Are there any questions for Mike? No, we will move on to Deputy Chief Williams, please.
Good morning, Your Worship, members of council. Provincially, there have been 654,000 cases of COVID-19, including 594,000 recoveries and 10,113 deaths. There are currently 152 COVID-19 positive patients in ICUs across the province, including 104 on ventilators. Of the ICU admissions, 59% of the individuals are either unvaccinated or partially vaccinated. The provincial testing positivity rate is currently 9.7%, and at the current doubling rate, Ontario could see 6,500 cases per day by the end of this week, and potentially over 10,000 daily cases by the beginning of the new year. To date, Ontario has conducted 20.5 million COVID-19 tests, and 90% of Ontario residents over the age of 12 are now fully or partially vaccinated. Within our region of Simcoe-Muskoka, the total number of reported cases is 17,215 cases, with 15,851 recoveries and 284 deaths. There were 846 new cases reported by the health unit during the last week, which is 50% higher than the 564 cases reported during the week of December the 5th. There are currently 24 individuals hospitalized in Simcoe and Muskoka, and our 7-day moving average of cases is 89.3 cases per day. The percent positivity within Simcoe-Muskoka is 4.5%, and there are currently 48 active outbreaks within the region, including 1 institution, 6 congregate living settings, and 41 education settings. 87% of our residents over 12 years old are fully or partially vaccinated. And finally, within Wasaga Beach, our total case count now is 429 cases, and that includes 2 individuals who are currently hospitalized, 20 who are isolating in home. We have had 5 deaths within the town and a total of 400 recoveries. 24 of the cases were listed in the last 14 days, with the most recent being listed on December the 16th. And finally, in Wasaga Beach, 89% of our residents over 12 years old are fully or partially vaccinated. And Your Worship, that concludes my update.
Thank you, Craig. Any questions of the Deputy Chief? Councillor Boulanger.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not a question. I just want to thank Deputy Chief. I became aware of acute shortage of rapid tests for the Metamorphosis Clinic in town, and he was able to quickly find me 20 that I was able to drop off. So thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll go back to you, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Worship. Members of Council, as I reported at the end of October, staff worked with the Health Unit and the South Georgian Bay Community Health Center on reestablishing a vaccination clinic at the Recplex on Tuesdays and Fridays using the Oakview Room. I had the opportunity to visit the Oakview Room last Friday, and the Health Center staff are well organized, and the flow of people works very well. From the beginning of November until the end of January, clinics will be held on Tuesdays and Fridays, alternating between an evening clinic and daytime. In late December, the United Church in Wasaga Beach will be hosting 2 clinics during the Christmas break. There is also a drive-through assessment clinic operated at the Recplex Monday to Saturday by appointment only. With the changes announced by the province last week, the command team worked with staff to ensure they were familiar with the new capacity limits, and appropriate signage has been installed in all our facilities. The command team continues to monitor the situation with the assistance of our facility staff. In closing, Madam Chair, with case numbers rising across the province, I would encourage everyone to get a booster shot and follow public health protocols over the Christmas holiday period, including limiting gatherings to the numbers outlined. That concludes my comments, Your Worship. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. Questions from council members? Okay, if I can have a mover and seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Kinney, Councillor Foster, that council receive the December 21st, 2021 verbal COVID-19 update from the CAO for information. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to community announcements. I'm going to go first this year. I've attended my regular meetings that I normally would. I do want to thank staff and council members for their dedication over this past year. Despite COVID, we have accomplished a lot. And for those who haven't seen it yet, this should be coming to your mailboxes, which is a really good snapshot of everything that council and staff have been able to accomplish over the past 3 years. And I think it's a really good indication of the great shape that we are in. So with that, I would just wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And hopefully 2022, at some point, we become a little bit more back to normal and we're not discussing COVID every day. That would be fantastic. With that, I will move to individual reports. We'll go to Councillor Foster, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I echo your last comment for sure. I guess I'll start by certainly wishing everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever version of celebration you have, or if you don't, that's okay too. But personally, and I know council understands this, I've never been so glad to see a year end. It's been brutal. And I'm not even talking about COVID, although that adds a whole new level to it. I wish everyone to enjoy time with family as possible and do your best to make the safest choices for yourself. We're in it again. This is something we're going to have to live with for the long run. So we have to make the best choices we can for ourselves. And it's not to be judged. It is to be what it is. I would suggest a New Year's resolution should be for some people to really consider getting vaccinated. It's not a difference of opinion, it's a reality. But at the same time, it's not when Craig mentioned the numbers with 89% locally and 87% in Simcoe County vaccinated or partially vaccinated, you go, those are excellent numbers. I'd love to see it closer to 100%. However, I think, we have to also continue to think globally, because this Omicron coming from perhaps a less developed area of the world just shows, while we're at 89%, there are lots of countries who are in their 10s and 20%. And until we can figure out a way to get it all equally vaccinated, it's going to stick around. I guess I should mention too, I've been, from an update, I've been doing the Royal Bank of Canada. They have a reconciliation education course online that's been really quite interesting. I haven't finished it yet, but I will. And the last piece I'll do for looking forward, as you said, Your Worship, is hopefully we won't have to talk about COVID. But I also am concerned and would really hope that our community and others around can find kindness again. I'm not sure we have an overabundance of it at times, certainly not on social media. So be kind to each other, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Bray.
Thank you. I think November, December for me was starting to get a little bit busier. Events were starting to happen again. We had a great Santa Claus parade. There was a tourism mini conference. There was the Rotary Paul Harris dinner, an annual event where we recognize those that have kind of gone above and beyond to provide for themselves or their community. And I was honored this year to present an award to our very own Deputy Fire Chief Greg Williams. So that was a great honor. As well, I was part of the Rotary Club's annual Corvette lottery giveaway, where $100,000 was given to local charities. So a good news story from our very small and very mighty Rotary Club. And finally, I guess, meetings continued as normal, but this Omicron virus is here. It's certainly global. My mother's overseas, so I hear the reports, in England, and they're almost up to 100,000 cases per day. So this is serious. We do need to take it seriously. Just remind everybody to stay safe. As Councillor Foster said, be kind. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we will see you in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to congratulate the Rotary Club for their very successful Corvette lottery, and 100,000 certainly helps many great organizations within our community. I participated in a cottage content sale, which with all proceeds going to the Shine Your Light Food Bank fundraiser, and I'm happy to report that we ended this year's donations at $16,177, and we'll do the check presentation at a later date. I want to wish everyone a joyous and safe Christmas and a happy New Year, but also encourage everyone to try to do a random act of kindness, because there's so many in our community where this is a little more stressful time of year because of financial or health concerns. I visited on December 4th the ratepayers' peaceful demonstration and met with many residents to try to better understand some of their concerns. Also attended a Wasaga Beach Climate Action Team Zoom call, and that's it. So again, be cautious, be safe, and enjoy friends and family over the Christmas season. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Worship, and I'll echo all the positively that my fellow councillors have already said. Earlier in the month, I met with a few residents to chat with them, try and get their things moving forward. I think I'd like to take as you did, Your Worship, a yearly perspective on 2021. Yeah, we battled COVID. Now we're into new variances, but the year did bring my grandson Logan to us, so that was a positive. I don't know if my wife feels it's a positive or not, jumping out of a plane and landing on the beach. We did that this year too. Like to take a moment to thank all staff and council. Being my first term on council, it's been very, very, very pleasant to work with everybody. I think we have a great staff, and from that, Your Worship, I do want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and hopefully kindness and prosperity brings to you in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was able to attend two Wasaga Valley Conservation Association meetings and had some discussions with residents on permitting issues. Attended both the United Church Bake Sale and the Wasaga Lions Bake Sale. I really tip my hat to these fine organizations that are always out there working for the community and working for their club. Very successful. Santa Claus Parade was excellent. Some of the biggest crowds I've seen for many years at that, and seeing all the smiling, happy faces of the children was very nice to see this year. I attended the Wasaga Beach Lions Club Christmas celebration and brought greetings from the mayor and council, and also attended the Wasaga Beach Builders Association Christmas dinner. I would like to congratulate and thank Mr. Alfred Sini and Jason and Marilyn Rattan from Remax by the Bay for their very significant donations to our Twin Pad Arena and Library project. It was very well done, very considerate of the community. Attended the Rotary Club when they handed out the $100,000 to approximately 20 charities in the region. It was well done meeting, and the smiles on the faces of the recipients was well worth it, and the money is going to very, very good causes. I was able to assist with the Ministerial Food Bank last Friday in handing out the Christmas hampers to the clients of the community. over 300 hampers were handed out by the volunteers. I really applaud all the hard work that the food bank puts into this, and all the volunteers that work very hard and long hours to provide for residents of Wasaga Beach. And at Christmas time, let us please rededicate ourselves to helping those in need. And may we all be grateful for the blessings we enjoy as Canadians and as citizens of Wasaga Beach. At this time of peace, let me wish all of you a very joyful and Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2022. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Your Worship. A relatively quiet month for me. I responded to a few inquiries from residents, and but other than that, it's generally pretty quiet. Again, I just like to thank our staff for their work out through the past year. We have a very professional and dedicated and committed staff, and I guess we tend not to tell them how much we appreciate them often enough, and but I do want to recognize them for all their work. And secondly, just to wish the community Merry Christmas, or whatever holiday you celebrate, and all the best wishes for a better, more comfortable 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great way of putting it, Councillor Wells. Moving on to notices of motion, we do have one from Councillor Belanger. Whereas the Town of Collingwood Council has recently approved a robust whistleblower policy on October 18th, 2021, and whereas it was indicated that they had previously had the policy in place, it would have very likely resulted in the Town of Collingwood avoiding a very expensive inquiry. And whereas in recent years, many municipalities have adopted whistleblower policies to safeguard the best interest of the municipality, the taxpayer, and town staff. A motion that we refer the Collingwood whistleblower report to town staff for review, and that a whistleblower policy staff report be brought to Wasaga Beach Council in January 2022 for council's consideration. So that notice of motion will be discussed at a future meeting. Motions where notices being previously given, we have none. Calling of committee meetings, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Worship. Members of Council, looking at the January 2022 calendar, the coordinated committee meeting for January is scheduled for Thursday, January 13th at 9 a.m., and that will be over Zoom. We have our committee of the whole meeting scheduled for the following Thursday, which is the 20th of January at 9 a.m., and that is over Zoom as well. And finally, our council meeting for the month of January is the Thursday after that, which is the 27th of January, and it's a 2 p.m. start time. So the council meeting will be starting at 2 p.m. on January 27th, 2022. I'll have to get used to saying that. Thank you, Worship.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to bylaws, we do have 2021-113 pulled to be voted on separately, and that is the budget. Was there any others before I read this motion? Okay, if I can have a mover and seconder, please. Oh, Councillor Foster.
Your Worship, we're not going to be dealing with them individually, just doing a group vote. Can I make a comment on two of them, please?
Of course, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just on, hold on, I have to find it, on 104, the emergency response plan. I would encourage everyone to read it. It deals with how we will deal with a variety of issues. It's 86 pages of entertaining read. I would like to suggest that, perhaps before the end of this term, we can have a similar report on environmental mitigation plans, because a lot of that deals with flooding, etc. So hopefully we can, it can bookend with going forward with environmental, how to deal with the environmental crisis. So that was one. And if you bear with me for one other, and this one, perhaps staff can get back to me. It's the one previous to that, Bylaw 103. I had a call about this one, and it's just putting in a couple stop signs. My recollection isn't great. It looks to me like these stop signs are already in place, and now we're putting a bylaw. So to me, to this person in the public, it seemed like the cart before the horse. And so perhaps someone in staff can remind me if that's the usual process or whether we do the bylaw and then put the signs in. Those are my only two comments. They don't need to be pulled or dealt with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'll go to our deputy clerk to respond to that.
Sure, thanks, Councillor Foster. We were advised by staff over at Public Works that the bylaw had been missed. It is processed for these to come forward. It was just missed off the plate, and now we're just kind of catching up with that one.
Okay, thank you for that. If there's nothing else, then I'll look for a mover and seconder for the bylaws, please. Councillor Kinney, Councillor Foster. Resolved that the following bylaws be received and be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered as follows. 2021-78, a bylaw to amend the Town of Wasaga Beach Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2003-60 as amended. 2021-102, a bylaw to authorize the execution of agreements between the Town of Wasaga Beach and the Canadian Urban Institute. 2021-103, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 8104 as amended, being a bylaw to designate through street. 2021-104, a bylaw to adopt an emergency management program and emergency response plan and to meet other requirements under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act. 2021-105, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 8104 as amended, being a bylaw to designate through street. 2021-106, a bylaw to assume certain streets and the associated services in the Town of Wasaga Beach for the Bay Cliff Upper Villas of Wasaga Subdivision Phase 1, Registered Plan 51M 1028. 2021-107, a bylaw to assume certain streets and the associated services in the Town of Wasaga Beach for the Bay Cliff Upper Villas of Wasaga Subdivision Phase 2, Registered Plan 51M 1028. 2021-108, a bylaw to assume stormwater management pond within the Bay Cliff Upper Villas of Wasaga Subdivision Phase 2, being blocks 315 and 316 of Registered Plan 51M 1028. 2021-109, a bylaw to exempt certain lands from part lot control pursuant to Section 50-7 of the Planning Act in respect of lands described as blocks 53 and 54, Plan 51M 1158, and blocks 1 to 17 inclusive, Plan 51M 1202 in the Town of Wasaga Beach, County of Simcoe, Elm, Wasaga Beach, 2016, Inc. 2021-110, a bylaw to establish fees and charges to be collected by the Corporation of the Town of Wasaga Beach. 2021-111, a bylaw to amend the Town of Wasaga Beach Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2003-60 as amended, Sunnydale Concession 13 ERS Part Lot 4, Concession 14, Part Lots 4 to 6, RP 51R34465, Part 1, RP 51R34466, Part 1, RP 51R34467, Part 1. 2021-112, a bylaw to adopt amendment number 57 to the official plan for the Town of Wasaga Beach. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving on to bylaw 2021-113, and this is dealing with the budget. And I will just say a few words about it. It's my pleasure to speak to the proposed 2022 operating and capital budget. On the surface, municipal budgets are all about spending, but dig a little deeper and they are so much more than that. They represent a community's needs now and for the future. Done poorly, and a budget can be a very comfortable thing. No follow through on priorities, no investments, no change in spending, and no preparation for the future. Great for today, some might say, but truthfully, not great for tomorrow. In short, a tunnel vision approach. Done well, and a budget can keep a community on track, meeting the needs of residents and businesses now and down the road. Our 2022 budget strives to achieve the latter. The budget before us today allows us to ensure the continued delivery of valued public services. It also allows us to make important and needed new investment in infrastructure and programs, helping move our community forward, ensuring our long-term viability as a great place to live, visit, and invest. There are some key budget numbers, and I share them now. Our operating budget for the year is $44 million, and our capital budget is $57 million. Taxes will support nearly $28.5 million in the budget, with the balance coming from reserves, fees, grants, and other revenues. The tax rate increase for the municipal portion is 2.97% over 2021. The blended tax rate, including the school boards and county, is 2.25%. On that note, I'm pleased to say that Wasaga Beach continues to have one of the lower tax rates in the region. For a home in Wasaga Beach assessed at $450,000 in 2022, the municipal portion of property taxes will increase by $77.16. The total property tax increase, factoring in the county rates and school board rates, is $101.78, an additional $8.48 per month. That represents phenomenal value for the service we deliver and the projects we are investing in. For 2022, our projects include the Twin Pad Arena and Library project, renovations to Fire Station 2, a new aerial truck for the fire department, water and wastewater projects, the Glendale Park redevelopment project, new playground equipment at Mills Park, the West End secondary plan, the comprehensive zoning bylaw update, the official plan update and affordable housing study, the implementation of our economic development strategy, new wayfinding signage, 2 new bus shelters, renovations at the health center and the senior active living center, a new electronic ice resurfacer, several road improvements, plus much more. While the pandemic continues to provide a sense of uncertainty in our world, the economic development activity in Wasaga Beach tells another story. There is frankly a sense of optimism. We have new homes going in throughout our community. These will bring new residents, which will contribute to our businesses, our schools, and our sports and cultural life. We continue to have new businesses opening in town. Construction of the casino in our West End is underway, and it will mean new jobs and a dedicated revenue stream for the municipality, plus new entertainment and dining choices. Construction of our Twin Pad Arena and Library is happening, and this will serve as a catalyst for future development and job opportunities in the East End. A new seniors complex at the Plaza Housing Foodland is set to start soon, adding another needed dynamic. Negotiations continue with Slate, the preferred developer for our beachfront, and we expect the result will be a rejuvenated area in our community. Simply put, Wasaga Beach is the envy of many other municipalities. Our strong position reflects decades of smart financial planning, community planning, and a healthy entrepreneurial spirit. However, our best asset remains the people who live here, and it is our community that we move forward with the 2022 budget. In closing, I'd like to thank again for all of their hard work in preparing the budget, members of council for their work in reviewing the budget, and finally members of the public who took the time to participate in the public meeting or write to members of council with their ideas. So thank you, and with that I will open it up to other members of council for comments. Councillor Blanchet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Firstly, I want to recognize the considerable amount of work department heads and staff have put into the budget process. And to the greatest extent, I support the budget as it relates to the town's operations and many of the ongoing capital projects. Special recognition for our treasurer, Jocelyn Lee, and her immediate team. I will, however, not be voting in support of the 2022 budget for the following reasons. On October 29th, 2020 council meeting, I reminded council of our top 2 priorities. Number 1, determine the town's role in the development of the downtown area and the beachfront. And number 2, determine the best location and build a new Twin Pad Arena and Library. I asked the following 2 questions. Of these 2 projects, which has the greatest potential to deliver positive economic impact for the entire community, every resident, increasing our commercial tax base and increasing our residential tax base, increasing our tourist visitation and spend, and ultimately reducing the burden on residential property tax. My second question is, why would the town commit to spending $60 million on a library and arena project without federal or provincial funding, council's second priority, without having a good understanding of our required expenses in the redevelopment of the beachfront and the development of the downtown? At the time, the 60 million was almost the equivalent of our reserves, and our treasurer had confirmed at that time that it would be very difficult for the town to take on 2 very high dollar volume projects simultaneously. In my opinion, we seem to have gotten our priorities mixed up. But after hearing our mayor's comments on December 14th, 2021 public budget meeting, I can understand why, and I quote, "For me, the beachfront would never come before our core services of arena and library and the services the municipality is supposed to give our residents over a beachfront that was purchased so that we could become landlords. As we had heard earlier, the reserves are negative 3-point-something million. So this comparison between beachfront and core services, a pause. The reality is that last term of council, there were 2 of us sitting on council that did not support it. To put the beachfront ahead of the arena and library or core services is not something I'm prepared to do. Now, faced with the costs of 2 significant dollar projects, we have been forced to take a number of actions within the budget and forecast that I do not support. To help pay for these large capital expenditures, we have raised development charges across all residential types by more, in the case of single detached and semi, by more than $10,000. And the beachfront, of course, has another secondary development charge. This eventually increases the cost of new homes, and it has a trickle-down effect on aftermarket home pricing and eventually on rentals. This during a period of time when all the municipalities around us are speaking and concerned about an affordable housing crisis. We have pushed back the next phase of River Road widening 2 years to 2025 and 2026, and the following phase to 2030 to 2031. In my opinion, this is a top priority given the current traffic issues on our 2-lane stretches, and it will only get worse with the population growth projections over the next several years. That the first phase of beachfront development could commence as early as the spring of 2023, and we start to reduce surface parking at that time. However, in the 10-year capital forecast, there is no provision for the construction of a parking structure estimated at a cost of $12 to $14 million in today's dollars, and is identified as a need in the parking study that was conducted. We continue to go full speed ahead on the new arena and library project when long-term impact of COVID variants on the utilization of these facilities is unknown. At this time, it's unknown if the municipality will have the funds or the borrowing capacity to carry out the 5 phases of the beachfront development in a timely manner. The municipality will be in a position of very low general reserves for an extended period that could pose a serious challenge if we were faced with an emergency due to an extreme weather event or unforeseen capital requirement like a roof repair or collapse. Also in the budget, the land sale, equipment sale, and other revenues associated with the beachfront development are not confirmed. They are forecast, just indicated revenue required to carry out the first few phases of the beachfront development. There is nothing specific in the budget related to creating a downtown proper. The mayor has indicated that we need to rely on organic development interest and investment. But in my opinion, this is not a realistic strategy for council's top priority, as there needs to be an action plan and financial incentive through the community improvement plan to move this forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinions, Councillor Belanger. I stand by my comments that I made at the last meeting, and I encourage residents to go to our website for accurate information about all the things happening in our community. Councillor Foster, I saw your card up.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, I did want to make a few comments, and as Councillor Belanger said, I'll certainly start out by thanking staff. This will be, I believe, my 15th budget I've been involved with, and they've become far more realistic than back in the day. They used to be a wish list, and now staff know they start out with a tight list, and then council makes it tighter. So good job on them. I also have a few comments, and one is related to an email we received a while back, and it came to all of council, and there was a suggestion somehow that this was a less than transparent or open process, and it was not. And I believe every member of council will be clear whether they agree with everything in it or not, that their voice was heard. May not have gone the way they wanted, but it was heard. So it is transparent and open. Also, it's a statement of fact. So it's going to sit on the town website, as you mentioned, Your Worship. And so when I used to spend some time on Facebook, they embellish numbers, they round up by 12 or 14%. This is a statement of fact. And again, it's also a living document. So if there is a change of anything, that council can't just, sneak it in. It has to be reported clearly. So a couple of comments here, I didn't write anything kind of ahead of time, but I said, every member of this council was elected to provide leadership in moving the town forward. That's what we did, or we're going to do. And I believe we're actually doing it responsibly. I think that just because we live on a beach doesn't mean we need to put our head in the sand and avoid moving forward. We must continue to follow our planning schedule, as both time and population growth will put pressure on our assets and their life expectancy. So if we were, just to say we can't do arenas and libraries, or work on getting the main end redeveloped, I think Stan Wells once called it a fool's errand, but he may comment on that. And again, I agree, there are a lot of priorities, and some may have been delayed for various and sundry reasons. I still believe, although, we are a very wide and thin town, that sometimes, we have to, if we are delaying River Road West widening, there are alternate transit methods we should also be promoting. So, Your Worship, I'm quite proud of the work that has been done by staff and on council in the debate on this. I feel it was fulsome discussion and open, and so I will be supporting the budget as presented today. And again, thank you to staff and for all their work.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Bray.
Thank you. Short and sweet. I believe it's a responsible budget. We're a growing community. We're growing in people. We're growing in services. And I'm very proud to call Wasaga Beach our home. Excited to see our children, our grandchildren having the opportunity to grow up and to visit here. And I think we are certainly headed in the right direction. There will never be a crystal clear crystal ball. We don't know what the future will be. Once we get through COVID, if and when we ever do, there will be other challenges coming our way. But I think we've adapted well. We have a great team at Town Hall. We have a great team on this council, and again, very proud to be moving the town forward. So thank you very much for everybody's hard work on this budget, and looking forward to being measured against this budget next year, because I do think it's fair and well thought out, and it should be the report card. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Could I have a mover and seconder for bylaw 2021-113, please? Councillor Kinney and Councillor Wells. A bylaw to adopt the estimates of all sums required for all municipal purposes during the year 2022. All those in favor? And those opposed? And that is carried by a vote of 6-1 with Councillor Belanger in opposition. And with that, we move to our closed session. If I could have a mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. Resolved that pursuant to section 239(2)(a) and (c) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, the next portion of the December 21st, 2021 regular council meeting will move into closed session to discuss the security of the property of the municipality or local board and a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. All those in favor? And that is carried. And we'll just take 5 minutes and then we'll come back in camera.
We're live, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are now back in open session. If I can have a mover and seconder for item 15.1, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Kinney, that council confirm the direction provided in closed session to the Director, Legislative Services and Clerk pertaining to a property matter. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. A mover and seconder for item 15.2, please. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. The council confirm the direction provided in closed session to the Director, Legislative Services and Clerk pertaining to a property matter. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Item 15.3, closed session minutes. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney, Councillor Wells. Resolved, the council received the following closed session reports as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Special Committee of the Whole, December 14th, 2021, closed session minutes. And Coordinated Committee, December 16th, 2021, closed session minutes. All those in favor? And that is carried. And that takes us to our confirmatory bylaw. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Watson. Resolved that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Wasaga Beach at its regular meeting held Tuesday, December 21st, 2021, be received and be deemed to have been ready first, second, and third time, passed and numbered 2021-114. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned. Have a great day and Merry Christmas again.
Merry Christmas, everyone.